Hi, I'm Vinnie Furtado, Public Works Superintendent in town. These are the fall 2023 BPW town articles that I'd like to speak on. Article 1, we have a couple of entries here. Bills of prior year. There's a company, ASNE. We received an invoice not too long ago for $3,501.70. This was for a fuel regulator. What had happened is this invoice was emailed to our prior wastewater superintendent, who has since retired, and when there was not a response, the company emailed it to our prior sewer department administrative assistant, who also since retired. So this invoice sat not being paid, and the whole office staff was unaware that the invoice existed. Someone reached out to us, and that's why this is a bill of prior year that we need to take care of, and this invoice will be paid from sewer retained earnings. Our only other entry in the bills of prior year category, Article 1, is for $6,647. This is money that the water department owes the town of Mattapoisett. These are for property taxes that our water department owns in the town of Mattapoisett. The water department received the invoice for the tax payment after the fiscal year books were closed, and as a result, we had to add this amount to the bills of prior year. And again, this will be paid by water retained earnings. Article 2 is funding of the labor contracts. The sewer department, they settled their collective bargaining agreement in October of 2023, so just now. Current contract runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2025. In addition to a wage step modification, the cost of living adjustments are 2.5% in FY23, 2% in FY24, and 2% in FY25. Same amounts that were offered to all the other groups. As this contract has retroactive pay all the way back to July 1st of 22, so a year and a half ago, the amount this will cost the sewer retained earnings is $86,276.44. Article 3 at this upcoming November 14 town meeting, specifically the additional borrowing that we need for the upgrade to the sewage treatment plant. So the EPA mandated sewer plant upgrade. This all stemmed from 1972 is when the Clean Water Act was updated, and one of the goals was to minimize the pollutants that were being discharged into the water. The Environmental Protection Agency was created. There were effluent standards created. There's a permit system that was created. And from all of that, the town built its current wastewater plant about 50 years ago, and it was upgraded, give or take, 30 years ago. During the last 50 years, since the promulgation of the Clean Water Act, the wastewater plant in Fairhaven has demonstrated consistent compliance with the permit that we've had. And we've been honored with numerous environmental achievement awards. The reason why we have to upgrade the plant is because of nitrogen. When the Clean Water Act came about, and some of the regulations I showed on a few slides ago, nitrogen was not a parameter of concern. So even the newest treatment plants, never mind something that was built 50 years ago, even the newest treatment plants could not comply. For example, New Bedford, our neighbors to the west, they went online with their plant back in 1996. And when it comes their turn to upgrade the plant, even they couldn't comply with the nitrogen removal, and they're 20 years younger than we are. Unfortunately, science has revealed excessive nitrogen causes algae blooms. When you have algae blooms in the receiving water, it really usurps the amount of oxygen out of there. You have a dissolved oxygen depletion, and you get marine life you don't want, and you can potentially have fish kills because, again, the fish are breathing the dissolved oxygen. In 2017, the permit that we've been receiving ever since the Clean Water Act that I referenced in the beginning slides the town received a discharge permit that for the first time contained a nitrogen limit, which we could not meet because we don't have that capability. So we met with the EPA, numerous meetings, and in 2018, there was a joint signing of an administrative consent order. The Select Board and the Board of Public Works signed with the EPA, and the administrative consent order was a list of tasks and due dates to eventually lead to the upgrade to the wastewater plant. So since 2018, in compliance with the administrative consent order, we've had to give the EPA and the state DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, quarterly updates as to what we've been doing. And the end goal is to see the upgrade occur sometime at the end of 2025 / the beginning of 2026. One of the requirements of the administrative consent order was to do a cost-benefit analysis just to see, okay, we have to build a plant. Is it going to be cheaper to run a pipe from Church Street all the way underneath the harbor to New Bedford? Or would it be cheaper, meaning in the long run, to run the pipe due south from the New Bedford inner harbor, where we discharge into, which is nitrogen impaired, to the outer harbor, which currently is not nitrogen impaired? So the results from those two respective studies showed that New Bedford would not accept our wet weather flow. So on a nice day, they would be willing to accept our flow, but they wouldn't whenever it rained. So that posed another problem. And in addition, New Bedford was certainly going to charge us money to accept and treat our flow. So we couldn't pursue that. And the EPA, in some of the numerous meetings that we had with them, they made it clear to us that they would be permitting the discharges in the New Bedford outer harbor for nitrogen, and we'd be in the same boat that we're in now, even with moving the pipe. As a result, we're moving forward with upgrading the plant. We went out to bid. We received 3 bids. One was, the cheapest one was $62 million. We had another bid for just a little bit more than 68, and then we had one for 69, and that's what I'm showing here. One of the reasons why we wanted to move forward now versus rebidding is that moving forward, the state where we're borrowing the money from, the state revolving fund, is going to require, starting next year, this Build America, Buy America requirement, which we estimate is going to cost the town another 20–30%. So we want to move forward with this, not only to comply with the administrative consent order, but to make this as inexpensive as we can. On this slide here, I have a list of what the estimated costs are. The contractor bid, as you can see, was a little bit more than $62 million. We put a 5% contingency, which makes sense in a project this big. The engineering, construction phase services, $5 million and change. Again, it's a 48-month project. So this is going to be the assistance of an engineer being on site to make sure that what was designed is actually constructed. There's a contingency for that. We're going to have a project manager on site as well, and we had to purchase builder's risk insurance. You tally all that up, it comes out just slightly more than $71 million. So on the good side, currently we have $4 million, almost $5 million in loan forgiveness. We've collected in our capital account that $25 that we issue to all the residents twice annually. We have $3 million in the coffers. The town administrator gave us $1 million in ARPA funds. Mattapoisett's share is over $11 million. So when you minus out what we have on the good side of the ledger, the town is currently on the hook for $51 million. So now probably the most important slide, besides the history and how we got to where we are, is what is it going to cost folks, based on our estimate. Right now, the current rate for the sewer is $8.60, And with that, we collect about $4 million. And that's if everybody pays. And truth be told, we get about 85 to 90% of the people that pay, which is very good. From the $4 million, $250,000 goes into the capital. That's where the $3 million came from. $750,000 goes to various projects. We still have 17 pump stations we have to maintain, and we have 100 miles of pipe, and $3 million goes to the operating and the salaries. So a 30-year note, which is our plan, would cost and raise the rate somewhere between $13 to $14. So on average, right now, the sewer expense for somebody living by themselves is $132 per 6 months. That is what the average person pays for a sewer rate for 6 months. And again, that is by themselves. If they're married, then that's $132 twice, $250, give or take. Our best estimate is that 132 is going to go up somewhere $70 to $80, but there are so many factors to consider. We are pursuing a 0% interest loan. If we get that, we'll be more on the $70 side. We're looking at additional loan forgiveness. That will again bring it down. So on this slide, I want it to be as real as I could for people so they would know what this is going to cost. But we have been pursuing, capital P, additional loan forgiveness above the nearly $5 million that we have, and other options, other avenues. Unfortunately, there's no grants or anything available like that. It's an unfunded mandate, but we're hoping that what we were on the hook for, the $51 million, is going to be even less than that. So lastly, the ask is for $20 million additional dollars. We did ask for $50 million a few years back, which was approved by town meeting, and we need this additional money so that we can move forward. Again, the 50 that was approved and the 20 we're asking for now, the town is not going to be on the hook of that because of what I mentioned as far as loan forgiveness and Mattapoisett amount and the ARPA funds and what we have in the capital coffers. But the state is requiring that someone take the lead. So Fairhaven is taking the lead, and we have to engage for that amount of money, even though we're not going to be required to pay that back. We're going to have to pay back, again, the current number's $51 million and change, and we're hoping to make it even less. Article 4 is the capital fee transfer. This is the typical article that we have at every town meeting ever since we instituted the capital fee. What we're seeking is to transfer the amount of $295,959.45 from the sewer department retained earnings to the sewer department capital improvement stabilization fund. And these monies that have been collected will be used to offset upgrade to the wastewater plant. Article 5 is the water storage tank maintenance. So back last year in 22, town meeting approved a $1 million appropriation for the water department into a service agreement with companies that maintain water towers. The BPW is seeking to accept bids via a request for a proposal versus an invitation for a bid process. The reason why we want to do this is an invitation for bid only takes into account pricing, where a request for proposal takes into account various criteria, including qualifications. The present town council has opined that the 2022 town meeting language that approved this appropriation did not take into account the invitation for a bid versus the request for a proposal differentiation, and that's why this is being presented. There is no additional money, it's just a language change, and again, we want to pick the folks that are going to do this based on their qualifications, since we're dealing with the water versus going with the cheapest. Article 6 is the safe routes to school. I'll give you a little history and then where we are today. So in 2000, 2016, the BPW, Serpide, and Bayside Engineering conducted a traffic study in the David Drown area where the Phoenix Rail Trail is. The study was done at the urging of the Fairhaven Police and Fairhaven Bikeway Committee based on bike path traffic concerns. Equipped with our information, the Fairhaven Bikeway Committee applied for a Safe Routes to School grant. The application was filed and awarded in 2019. The project is designed to narrow Sconneck Road, roughly from the 99 Plaza to the Leroy Wood School. The original ask, based on then estimations, was $650,000. Through numerous meetings that the Board of Public Works has had with the state, who's awarding these funds, and their engineer, the current scope is at least $1.5 million, and it's probably going to end up being around $2 million in today's bidding climate. As one of the stipulations of getting these $2 million, because the project is funded by federal funds, 80% and 20% state funds, there are some requirements that have been asked of the town in order to satisfy this funding. And specifically, the biggest ask has been the taking of both temporary and permanent easements. As part of all this, September of 22, we hosted a public meeting about this matter. Last November, again of 22, as part of the above requirement, town meeting approved the select board to acquire these takings. Here's some notifications that we received from Mass DOT. Here's a notice of when we had the public hearing, back September 15th. So in order to move forward, Public Works was required to hire an appraiser to evaluate the project and specifically the costs associated with these takings. And as a result, we're asking town meeting for $75,000. On the next few slides, you're going to see some right-of-way plans. In purple are permanent utility easements that the town will be taking for the purpose of moving overhead wires or for moving poles to ensure compliance with ADA so that folks can traverse down the sidewalks, again, that exist from Leroy Wood School to the 99 Plaza. On the next few slides, the parcels you're going to see with temporary easements, which we put in yellow, is a taking used to access a small portion of front yard area that may be used for construction activities. So again, here's some of the plans. Just go through them really quickly. The temporary easement period for this project is for a rental term of 5 years. After the 5-year period, the town will no longer retain rights, and truly, we're not even going to need it for that long. Inspections of all the needed easement areas affected by this project have been conducted. We paid for that appraiser, and the value has been assessed. As a result, we're asking town meeting for the $75,000 because these are the monies that we have to pay for the easements that I reference. And again, it's truly a small ask, $75,000 for this requirement versus the nearly $2 million we're going to receive for free, as part of the grant that we received to narrow the road from the Leroy Wood School to the 99 / Stop and Shop Plaza area. Article 11 on this town meeting is revolving funds. We have one entry there. The sanitation department, which falls under the Board of Public Works, is seeking to increase the allotment we're allowed to spend for the disposal of mattresses. As you may be aware, the Board of Public Works accepts mattresses for $40. Residents have to bring it there, but they bring it there, we collect them, and we charge $40. So although we collect enough money in the fees to make the program work, as that was a stipulation of a $10,000 grant that the town received back in 19, I believe, now that these grant funds have been exhausted, we need permission to spend more than the $1,000 we are allowed to. Again, we have the money in the account. The $40 that we collect more than covers the costs, but with the revolving fund stipulation that currently exists, we cannot spend more than $1,000, and it costs more for us to get rid of. We have a trailer. The trailer can hold about 50 mattresses, and when the hauler takes it away, when it gets full, it costs more than $1,000 to take this away. So there is no additional ask for monies. It just costs more to haul the mattresses away, which is why we need the permission to spend more than the $1,000.